At 6:52 on a Thursday morning before her alarm goes off for the second time, a warehouse supervisor in Atlanta opens her banking app. She moves exactly $90 into an account her coworkers don't know exists. Not 100, not whatever is left after bills, 90. She has done this every single week for 19 months. Same amount, same day, same silence. She has never told her family, never posted about it, never mentioned it at work. And right now, sitting quietly in that account is more money than most Americans have saved in their entire lives. This video is about the exact rule she is following and why $90 a week is the number that changes everything. Most people believe that building financial freedom requires a high salary, a windfall, or a second income stream they haven't found yet. That belief is the reason most people never start. The average American carries over $5,000 in credit card debt and less than $400 in savings, not because they earn too little, but because nobody ever showed them the right system. Financial literacy is not taught in schools, not explained by employers, and rarely passed down by parents who were never shown it either. So people spend their entire working lives trading time for money without ever building the one thing that money is supposed to create: freedom. Freedom is not a salary number. Freedom is the point where your savings and investments generate enough to cover your living expenses without you ever having to clock in again. A year of financial freedom means 12 full months of your life paid for, not by a job, but by the decisions you made quietly, in the background, while nobody was watching. The $90 a week rule is how ordinary people on ordinary incomes reach that number faster than they ever thought possible. It is not a savings tip, it is not a budgeting trick, and it has nothing to do with cutting your lattes or canceling subscriptions. It is a three-phase system built on behavioral science, compound growth, and one weekly habit that rewires the way your money moves. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why $90 is the specific number and what it quietly becomes over time. Phase 1 is called the floor, and it runs for the first 90 days. During the floor phase, your only job is to move $90 every week, same day, same time, no exceptions, into a high-yield savings account completely separate from your main bank. Not the savings account attached to your checking account, a separate institution, a separate login, a separate mental category. The psychological distance between you and that money is not an accident. It is the system working exactly as it should. Studies on personal finance behavior consistently show that money kept in a visible, accessible account gets spent. Money that requires 2 extra steps to reach is treated like a bill, something you do not touch. $90 a week equals $360 a month. By the end of month 3, you have over $1,000 sitting in an account you cannot easily reach. That $1,000 is not an investment yet. It is your first real act of self-respect. For the first time, you have a buffer between you and the next unexpected bill, the next car repair, the next medical expense that used to send everything into chaos. Wealth building does not begin with a stock portfolio. It begins with stability. You cannot invest from a position of scarcity, and you cannot build discipline from a position of constant financial emergency. The floor phase eliminates the emergency first. By the end of month 6, following the $90 a week rule with 0 interruptions, your high-yield savings account holds over $2,300. That's 2 months of rent, 2 months of groceries, 2 months of your life, bought back from the system that was designed to keep you dependent on every single paycheck. At the 90-day mark, the $90 a week rule splits into 2 streams, and this is where the financial freedom math begins. $60 of your weekly $90 continues flowing into your high-yield savings account until you reach a 3-month emergency fund. The remaining $30 begins going into a low-cost index fund every single week, without exception. $30 a week invested into the market does not sound like money that changes lives, and that's exactly what makes it the most powerful part of the system. At an average annual return of 7%, the historical average of the S&P 500 over the last 50 years, $30 a week becomes something that surprises even the people who do the math themselves. After year 1, your invested $30 has grown to over $1,600. After year 3, it has crossed $5,000. After year 5, compounding interest is no longer something you read about, it's something you can see in your account every single month. But the investment side is only half the equation because the savings side is doing something equally important. By the end of month 9 on the $90 rule, most people following this system have fully funded a 3-month emergency fund. 3 months of living expenses, rent, food, utilities, transportation, sitting in a high-yield account earning between 4 and 5% interest annually. That 3-month emergency fund is the first version of financial freedom most people have ever experienced. It's the first time in their adult lives that losing a job does not mean immediate catastrophe. It's the first time a car repair does not destroy a month of progress. And it's the first time their financial decisions stop making from fear and start making from a position of actual choice. Once the 3-month fund is secured, the full $90 per week shifts entirely into building wealth. $60 per week into the market, $30 per week continuing to grow the savings buffer toward the 6-month mark, and eventually, the full $90 invested once the savings target is complete. This is phase 3, the compound, and this is where a year of financial freedom stops being a concept and becomes a number you can actually calculate. A year of financial freedom for the average American household requires between $40,000 and $60,000 in liquid, accessible wealth. That's 12 full months of living expenses, mortgage, rent, utilities, food, insurance, transportation, covered entirely without a single paycheck. $90 a week, fully invested over 10 years at the historical market average, grows to over $65,000. That's a year of financial freedom built entirely from $90 a week, less than the cost of a streaming subscription, 2 meals out, or 1 impulsive online purchase per day. But the number that matters more than the final total is the turning point, the specific year when your investment growth begins to outpace your weekly contribution. That's the moment passive income begins doing the work that your labor used to do. At year 7 on the $90 rule, your invested portfolio is generating more in annual compound growth than you are putting in each month. The money is working harder than you are. That's not motivational language. That's the arithmetic of compound interest applied to a consistent, small weekly habit maintained over time. The people who understand this don't talk about it at work, they don't post about it on social media, and they don't wait for a raise, a promotion, or a lucky break. They open their banking app, move $90, and return to their lives. Quietly, consistently, invisibly. The Atlanta warehouse supervisor isn't rich by any conventional definition. She earns $47,000 a year, she rents a 2-bedroom apartment, and she drives a 9-year-old Honda Accord. But 19 months into the $90 rule, she has a fully funded 6-month emergency fund, an investment account that has crossed $12,000, and for the first time in her adult life, she doesn't need her next paycheck to survive. Financial freedom is not a lottery win, it's not a business idea, and it's not something that happens to other people with better luck or better salaries. It's built in $90 increments every week in an account nobody else can see, over a period of time most people are too impatient to commit to. The reason this works is not complicated. It works because $90 is small enough that you won't feel it leave, consistent enough that compound interest can multiply it, and split correctly so that it builds safety and growth at the same time. Every financial habit you have right now was built by your environment, by a school system that never taught you this, by a consumer economy designed to capture every dollar before it has a chance to compound. The $90 rule is how you quietly rebuild that environment from the inside, 1 week at a time. Subscribe if this is the kind of financial content that your bank account actually needs. Not motivation, not viral tips, but the real math behind how ordinary people build extraordinary financial lives. The next video on this channel breaks down exactly where to open the high-yield account, which index fund to start with, and the single setup that makes the $90 transfer automatic so you never have to think about it again. $90 a week, same day, same silence. And a year from now, you will be standing somewhere your past self could not imagine.